We got several sayings in the Romanian language that I find quite interesting. One of them is that the egg doesn't get to educate the chicken. My personal favorite is that the son doesn't get to teach the father on how to make babies. We got a lot of sayings on the same theme because we benefited from communism. And communism is one of the few ideologies on earth that invert common sense. Everything that is common sense and traditional wisdom is subverted and made the opposite. So if common wisdom dictates that the elder of the village is the wiser, which is a very tribalistic notion, it came even before the ancient Greeks and remained up until today because it holds true most of the time. Communists will say the opposite. They will say, no, it's the elderly that are uneducated, they're bigoted, they're stuck in their old ways, and it's the children, it's the new generation that are enlightened. They understand much better the world we live in today because they use technology much more than the elderly, so they are far more open-minded. This is why you get to see Greta Thunberg lecturing old leaders. It's literally that ideology, is that the child is far superior in intellect, wisdom, than the parent, and then the previous generation. And you get to see this in a lot of Soviet propaganda. Like, for instance, this one is my favorite, where the young child wants to go to school to get indoctrinated by the party, while the grandmother wants to take the child to church in order to get indoctrinated by the ancient wisdom. And you get to see how the church is depicted. It's decrepit, it's old, while the school that the government made and funds is beautiful, it is perfect. You got airplanes flying and all that stuff. I hope you do have airplanes flying, because I just remembered the picture from my memory. I don't have it on my screen, actually. You guys will see it, but I don't see it. But anyway, you get the vibe, right? It's the idea that the children are the educated, right? You get to see that the child wants to go to school, but the grandmother uses force. She uses her position of authority in order to tug her hair and force her to church, right? So it is liberating for the child to actually get away from the older generation and move into the new era, the Homo Sovieticus, they called it, like an entire new generation that is much smarter, educated, compassionate than the previous one. That's what the communists believe, by the way, right? So the question is why they do it. And there's multiple answers for it, all that are working in the favor of the communist ideology. Like, for instance, we saw with Greta Thunberg, is you have the Schrodinger's activist. What it means is that when Greta Thunberg goes and holds a speech, most people are supposed to take it as if she knows what she is talking about, as if she is wise beyond her years. She understands the climate, she understands the science, she understands the politics. So you should listen to her, you bigot, because look, even world leaders are listening to her. But the reason she's the Schrodinger's activist is that if you challenge her, if you want to debate her, if you want... Well, she's but a child. Like, are you crazy? Why are you putting your mind with a child? So all of a sudden, right, like, from that image of wisdom and knowledge, I know she's reduced to that of a child, even though she was like, what, 16, 17 when she was holding the speeches. But this is how it works, right? Like you put the child forward. The Soviet Union did the same. Like, they had a lot of child heroes, usually the ones that reported their parents for counter-revolutionary activity. They were praised and they were like given as examples to others. So it's one of the main reasons why they do it. The second reason is that children are very easy to influence. I mean, Lenin himself said that if you give him a child for 4 years, he can keep them forever, or something along those lines. Basically, what it means is that when you're young, you don't really understand how the world works, so you can believe in Santa Claus if needed. If your parents are telling you that Santa is real, you gotta believe. You believe in the Tooth Fairy because you do not have the knowledge of how the world works. Like, from the perspective of a child that's still learning things and doesn't really understand what goes on outside his neighborhood, if even that, or sometimes outside his household, it is impossible for him to contradict the parents who say that Santa Claus comes through the chimney, because if you don't know the world, like maybe there are mythical creatures out there. I mean, you haven't explored the world yet, you don't know. And one of those mythical creatures maybe does have magical abilities to allow them to go through the chimney. So it's not really an issue that the child is illogical, necessarily. It's just that he doesn't have the knowledge of the world. He doesn't know enough of the world to be able to understand that magic isn't real. Like, if you're only experiencing your house, then you can actually believe, yeah, magic may be real, I just haven't seen it. It just doesn't happen in front of me, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist out there. So, kids have a limited understanding of the world. They do not have the same knowledge that an elderly person gains through the age and through time. So it's really easy to influence them. It's really easy to bullshit them. You can tell a kid, oh yeah, we're going to give you free education. And they don't know about taxes. They don't know that they have to pay for it. You can tell a kid, yeah, sure, go to a gender studies university, make a loan. They don't know that they're going to be in debt. They don't understand that they may actually do the university and then not get a job. Right? So it's very easy to take someone young and feed them with various political slogans that they don't understand in order to try and persuade them to vote for one political party or another. But, like, for instance, it's very easy to take someone young and get them to listen to Greta Thunberg or watch Captain Planet, and all of a sudden they're going to agree with everything there, but they're still using their own air conditioning, they're still having a gaming computer, they're still having all of these things, and they don't even realize that if you were to implement what Greta Thunberg is asking, they would lose access to all of those. To be fair, there's even adults that don't understand this, so... But... as we see in Germany, and I have heard this being discussed in many other places, they actually do want to lower the age of consent for people to vote. Which has been met with significant pushback. Mainly the biggest concern is, okay, so if they get to vote, do they also get to serve on the front? Like, if Russia invades Poland and NATO has to intervene and Germany needs to send soldiers, are they going to send 16 years old? It's a legitimate question. Can they drink alcohol? Okay, so they can't drink alcohol but they can vote? Can they go to the army, right? Like, what about jail time? What about jail time? Like if a 16-year-old commits a crime, do we trial him as an adult or do we trial him as... Like, there are so many other legal ramifications that for some reason is not even being considered. Which probably is going to mean that, yeah, sure, they get the right to vote, but they don't serve in the military. They still do not go to the adult jail. They still do not get to drink. Which goes to show that, in reality, the politicians don't actually believe that these are adults, but they still want to treat them as children and protect them as children, however they want them to vote. But what's interesting, though, is that we already noticed the countermeasures. Because if a child can be influenced to be left-leaning, surely they can be influenced to be right-leaning as well. I mean, Hitler Youth was a thing, right? So that you can actually take young people and indoctrinate them into whatever political party or religion you wish. And now they're horrified that, oh, the far right is doing this. Well, what the fuck did you expect them to do? Like, they're not making the patch notes, they're not in power, they're not passing the legislation. But if you're going to tinker around with the idea, of course they're going to target the youth. Duh. But I love the shock and the surprise and the awe from the journalists. Like, oh, we never expected. Like, what do you expect? These people view themselves as the managerial class. Like, they view themselves as players over a chessboard, and they're just moving the pieces so that it's in their favor, but they don't realize that unlike chess in real life, the chess pieces do have a mind of their own, and they also try to follow their own self-interests. So when you move a peon, maybe the peon doesn't want to be there. Maybe the peon notices that you're moving it in a bad position and is just moving away from you. So this is what actually happens. But regardless, I found it to be quite hilarious. And the reason I did is because they also flirted with the idea, like the left party and the leftist party in Romania flirted with the idea and lowering the age for voting. And when they looked at the statistics, they realized that young people are incredibly far right. Because a lot of them have spent time on the internet and they saw what's happening in the West and the policies in the West, and they were like, you know what? I don't want that here. And they're really aware of what's happening, and they're really aware of politics that even the adults aren't aware. So I guess in a way the communists may be right. But for different reasons. So when they realized, oh shit, like a lot of young people are going to vote right wing, well, maybe we should. Maybe if possible, we can raise the age of consent. You know, maybe we can raise it to 25 or some shit. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.